Hello YouTube. Today on the Naughty Librarian I am bringing you the book haul. I don't have a theme. I've been collecting a lot of books lately, like I tend to do, and in this one in particular I've gotten a few books from the publisher. I've gotten a few books that were kind of like older on my TBR list that I've been meaning to read and I just finally bought, and also like some new releases. I got like a lot of different stuff. It's diverse. Let's get into it. First things first, I got this little like gift package of books from Harlequin, so thank you so much Harlequin for sending me these. Well, I'll get into each one of these individually, but they kind of came as like a little like fun gift pack, and I was like, yes, thank you Harlequin. First things first, I have A Winning Season by Rochelle, Alers, and this one is kind of fun. It is a sport romance, and this one in particular is following baseball. You know what, I'm kind of a sucker for sports romances. I just am. I don't know why. I just kind of like them. They're always contemporary and fairly light, or sometimes very dramatic. It could go either way, really, with a sport romance. This one is about Sutton and Zoe. Sutton is, a pro baseball player, and he moves back to his hometown, and then he meets this troubled kid, and he's like, I'm gonna help this kid. And he's just like, oh wait, this kid's older sister is like hot, and she's like, oh, I don't have time for romance. And then, sexy results. And I'm in. I'm excited. I like that it's also a diverse author, diverse people on the cover. Also really super cool, and it's like a sport romance. It's also fairly short. How long is this? This seems very short. Yeah, this is 279 pages. Like, I can knock this out in a day, like, if I try. So I'm excited. Sporty romances. I'm a sucker for them. I like them. I also got a copy of Marriage by Arrangement by Sophia, Singh, Sasson, and I'm actually really excited for this one for multiple reasons, but one of them is that both the lead characters in this book are of Indian descent, and I actually haven't read a romance where both lead characters are of Indian descent. I know a bunch of them exist, I just haven't read them yet, so this one definitely appealed to me just because it was like culturally relevant, and I thought that was really cool. Also, I have to read you the first line of the blurb because golden. Rule number 1, don't fall for the client because he'll rock your world. Love it so much. So this is Rani and Arjun, and Arjun is basically like India's hottest bachelor. He's a hotelier, and Rani does something. I forget what she does. What do you do, Rani? Yeah, I don't know what she does. She just says Arjun is her client in the black blurb. So she does some type of business, and Arjun is her client, and then they have to fake date each other. And yes, I love fake dating. I love the fact that both of these characters are of Indian descent. This one is like really checking off a lot of boxes for me. I'm really excited about this. Also, it's very short. Again, another really little short one from Harlequin. Oh my gosh, 215 pages. Like, this is a breeze. But frankly, these little like Harlequin Desire books, they're meant to be short and sweet and to the point. They're kind of like a serial series, so those are fun. And also, hey, this one is very diverse and interesting, and fake dating, love. Totally into this. Last book from Harlequin is Settling an Old Score by Delores Fossen. Now, this one is probably the one I'm least interested in, just because Delores Fossen writes, I don't know the best way to describe it without it sounding mean, is just, her books usually look like they should be on the Hallmark Channel. And no shade, you know what? Hallmark Channel is very popular. A lot of people really like those movies. I am not one of those people, however. So when I see something that looks very Hallmark, it's kind of like, don't want that. This one at least doesn't look very Hallmark, so there's that. Okay, no. I could try to like make up a blurb for this, but frankly, I have to read you this blurb. It says, within moments of discovering a baby on his doorstep, Texas Ranger Eli Slater finds himself being held at gunpoint by his ex, Ashlyn Darrow. She claims she was tipped off that the still gorgeous cowboy kidnapped her newly adopted daughter because of the bad blood that defines her past. They quickly realize Eli's been set up, and now Eli is determined to protect Ashlyn and her daughter. But regaining her trust will be as easy as ignoring the attraction even a lifetime apart can't erase. What is going on here? There's like kidnapped babies, and like the premise seems freaking ridiculous. It makes no sense. So part of me is just very intrigued by this because of how little sense anything makes on the back cover of this book. But you know what? This might be fun to like try out. Like if it's a night, I'm home, I'm drinking a lot of wine, this might be like a fun wine binge book because it's silly. But if you also like silly kind of thriller books, you might also be intrigued by this. But yeah, I think this is a good book for like a wine binge. Also sent to me by the publisher is Kushils Dart by Jacqueline Carey. And this book has been on my radar for so long, like so long. And one of the many reasons I haven't read it is that they've been out of print for a really long time. And Tor, thank you very much Tor for sending me this copy, is re-releasing them. Yes! So now the series will be re-released in these glorious little paperback books. I kind of like mass market paperbacks. Not everyone likes them, but I kind of like them. And this book is like thick. Like thick with 2 C's. Like how long is this? Those other books were so short that this one's like shocking how long it is. Oh my gosh, 901 pages. It's so long. This is following a woman named Phaedra, and she has this unique thing. I don't know if it's a gift or not, but she is said to have been pricked by Kushils Dart, which means she experiences pain and pleasure as one thing. So I have a feeling this is probably going to be a sexy book, and I didn't know this was a sexy book. I thought this was just fantasy, but it's going to be sexy fantasy. Because she has that quirk. She is very trained in like courtly arts and also bedroom arts. So she's kind of a little bit of a spy. She kind of just like gets to know things through her clients, through pillow talk, etc. And then she finds out a plot that's very evil and going to take over the world, and I guess it's up to her to stop it somehow. But yeah, this is unexpected a bit because I knew Kushils Dart, I've heard of it, I've seen this cover, which I know is a bit suggestive, but I always just thought it was like regular fantasy but like French. You know what I mean? Like it kind of looks like a French type of fantasy story. So I thought it was that, and while it is that, I also think it's going to be like a sexy one. So I'm more intrigued. The sexy part doesn't turn me off to it. It actually makes me more intrigued by it. So I am really excited to have a copy finally. Thank you for re-releasing these in paperback, Tor. So yes, super pumped. Thank you for sending me a copy. Another book that's been on my radar for quite some time is Silent in the Grave by Deanna Raybourn. Now I've heard consistently really good things about Deanna Raybourn. She kind of writes these really twisty-turny mysteries and also sometimes sexy mysteries. And I have been wanting to read something by Deanna Raybourn for like quite a while now, so I finally saw this one. It's like a used book. I had to get it, so I'm pretty pumped. So this is about kind of a private investigator named Brisbane, and this guy who hired him, he's like, hey, I think someone's gonna murder me. And so he's investigating it, and wouldn't you know, the guy gets murdered, oopsie daisy. And his wife is there, a bunch of people are there when it happens. She thinks he just died of a medical condition, and Brisbane's like, no, he probably got murdered. And the wife's like, get the fuck out of here. And then eventually she starts finding out all these things. She's like, shit, he was murdered, wasn't he? So she has to work with Brisbane to uncover who the killer is, who murdered her husband. And I'm assuming possibly also sexy results. I'm not sure. That's out to be determined, but I've heard such great things about Deanna Raybourn mysteries that I really want to try one out. Like, I'm actually genuinely pretty excited. Like, mysteries I'm kind of hit or miss with because I am remarkably good at picking the killer. Like, if I read a whole mystery and I didn't peg the killer, I am impressed. So I'm fingers crossed I'm going to be impressed and not peg the killer because I'm really good at that. But fingers crossed, it's going to surprise me. And I'm really excited. I really want to try this out. I also got a copy of Song of Blood and Stone by Penelope. This is another book I keep hearing excellent things about. It's a fantasy. It was like loosely on my radar for a while, but I didn't have a copy, and I just decided to take the plunge and buy it because I keep hearing good things. I'm intrigued. It's kind of like a typical kind of fantasy type environment. There's these two neighboring kingdoms who don't get along. However, there is a mantle in between them, which essentially is a magical veil that separates the two. And wouldn't you know, that magical veil seems to be getting kind of weak. And perhaps a war is brewing between these two countries. And we're following this girl named Jasminda, and she's kind of an outcast because I feel like she lives in one side of the mantle, but she has abilities and like maybe even the physical characteristics of people who live on the other side of the mantle. So she's having a hard time, and now she's kind of like thrust into this middle of this war between these two kingdoms trying to seize power. So it has a lot of like typical fantasy like tropes going on here, but the thing I've heard about this book the most is that it's really well thought out and the characters are super diverse. So that is a big selling factor here because, again, I've heard nothing but great things about it. So it's definitely one I definitely want to try out. I don't know if I'm gonna like it or not. Who knows? Oh, look, there's pictures and it's cats. Oh my gosh, my ADD just like jumped the ship there. But yeah, I'm already more excited because there's pictures of cats in here. But yeah, I want to read this one. I also picked up a copy of The Shadows by Alex North. I got this one simply because it looked super spooky, and I kind of like spooky books. This one we're following this guy named Paul, and back when he was a kid, there was this other kid named Charlie, and Charlie was one of those kind of quiet loner characters who everyone kind of was suspicious about, like, hey, if something violent happened, like, it wouldn't surprise me Charlie did it. And wouldn't you know, Charlie committed a violent, horrible act of murder. And Paul was his friend, so he spent a long time putting his life back together after these horrible events. And now, in the present, there seems to be a copycat killer, and there might be more kind of paranormal instances here, because after this big murder that Charlie committed, Charlie was never seen again. So I think there might be a paranormal aspect here. It's definitely kind of a mystery, and I mean, I'm so into spooky books this year. Like, I'm so into it, and this premise sounds so good. I had to get it, so I'm really excited about this one. I'm gonna try to read this year. This might be a good Halloween pick. The last book I collected recently is Havenfall by Sara Holland. I've been intrigued by this book for quite some time now, and I have not looked up any reviews because I want to be surprised, so I don't really know what like the consensus here is, but it has a really, really cool concept. It's kind of like fantasy John Wick. By that I mean there is this inn called Havenfall, and it is, neutral ground. So basically it's kind of at the crossroads between these separate kingdoms, well, like kingdoms, but like worlds. So like they have the human world, us, then they have like maybe a magical world and a bunch of other worlds. They're all kind of connected at this one point at this inn. And anybody who goes to the inn is safe. It's consecrated ground. You're not allowed to like fuck with people there. And it seems like a really cool idea until all of a sudden a dead body shows up, violently murdered. So they have to figure out how that happened, what's going to happen to the inn. Particularly, we're following Maddie, who's this girl, and she really wants to be like the keeper of the inn in the future, and her uncle's the innkeeper now, and she's trying to solve this murder. And I just like the whole like world building concept of this. I'm really into that. I know Sara Holland has written other books, but there are books I have not read. What did she write? She wrote Everless, I think it was called. I don't know, if you see the cover, you're just like, wow, that is generic YA fantasy. And that's mainly the reason why I did not read it. It looks just too generic YA fantasy. This one, however, has a definite more distinct feel to it. Like, it still feels like YA fantasy, but it's more distinct than her other one, which felt like very much like every other YA fantasy. So I don't know, I really, really like the world building here. I like the whole concept it's got going on. So I'm definitely very intrigued by this. I do want to pick it up. I think it's got a cool concept. Alright, so those are a bunch of new books I've picked up recently. I'm pretty excited about a lot of them. Again, thank you to the publishers Harlequin and Tor for sending me copies of books. I really am super into all of those. Thank you so much for sending those to me. Also, I got a few books off my like deeper TBR that I've been meaning to read for a while and I'm excited about. So overall, I got like a pretty good like vibe here in this book haul. I'm really into all these books. Let me know in the comments down below, have you read any of these books? Especially Kushils Dart, because I hear that this has such a big fan base and I just haven't read it yet. But I know so many people love this book dearly. So if you're one of them, let me know in the comments down below. is there something I should be expecting from it? Or any of these books. If you're a fan, let me know what you thought. Comments down below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. And if you want to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye!